Susan Gardner here from Municipal World. We're at the 2019 AMO Conference. Joining me in the Municipal World Media Center is the host city's mayor, Jim Watson.
Hi, Susan.
Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
So lots of exciting stuff going on here in the city of Ottawa right now for the AMO Conference.
Yeah, we're very honored to host the AMO Conference. We've hosted the last couple of years, and we're going to host it again next year. It's not only great to see all my fellow mayors and councillors and staff here under one roof, but it's also great for the local economy as well. Hotel rooms, taxis, Uber, restaurants, they're doing very well as a result of over 2,000 delegates and exhibitors here for the 3 days.
And as always, great for everyone, our team included, to be able to come here to the nation's capital and connect with municipalities from across Ontario. So
Great.
we're
glad to have
be
you
here too.
Thank you.
So I was going to talk about, provincial government and that kind of thing. And maybe we can touch on that later. But I really wanted to talk about your personal announcement just in advance of this event.
Right. Yeah, I announced, I guess, a few days ago that I'm gay, and I wrote an opinion piece for the Ottawa Citizen and sort of told a little bit of a story of, being a teenager and moving from school to school, and finally, after 40 years of being in the closet, announced proudly that I'm gay, and it's coincides with our Pride Week here in Ottawa, which is a big deal, and we just raised the Pride flag at City Hall, which was I've done many times, but this is the first time as a gay person.
Pretty special meeting this time around.
It is, yeah, and so I look forward to attending a couple of events over the week, and then off on Sunday we have our great parade that goes down through the downtown core, which I think will have special meaning for me this year.
That's fantastic. So this is something that you struggled with, obviously. You've had a long career. Tell folks about your career in politics.
Yeah, I've been sort of in and out of politics for a while. I was had the honor of getting elected when I was 30 as city councillor and in Capital Ward in the city of Ottawa, and I did that for 2 terms, and then I ran for mayor of Ottawa in 1997, and I was the last elected mayor of the old city of Ottawa before amalgamation. Then I went in, I headed up a Crown corporation called the Canadian Tourism Commission for a number of years. Then I got lured back into politics and did 7 years at Queen's Park as a minister and an MPP.
Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Municipal Affairs, yeah, which I love that portfolio. It was great and near and dear to my heart. And then I came back to municipal politics as mayor in 2010. I got elected in 2010, 2014, and 2018. And I love being mayor of this city. It's a very, very special place. I think not just in my heart, but the hearts of all Canadians. We like to say it's everyone's second hometown in Canada. That was a phrase coined by Jean Piggott, who was the chair of the National Capital Commission. And, I grew up as a teenager. My dad moved a lot between cities and, a small town in Quebec, then Montreal, then Toronto, then Sarnia. And back then, there were no gay-straight alliances. There were no GLBTQ committees. I didn't know a single gay person in my high school life, and even if I wanted to come out, it would have been a pretty lonely existence because I just arrived at the school and I didn't know anyone because I was the new kid. And so, I finally, the last year or two I've been thinking about, what should I do? And I decided to write an opinion piece, and I did that a couple of weeks ago. The Ottawa Citizen published it. And I've been overwhelmed and, very kind comments that people have been sending me and phone calls and letters and tweets. So I'm glad I did it, but I was a little late. I said I'm a bit of a late bloomer, and my advice, not that I have any expertise in being an open gay man, except for 3 days, I said, be comfortable if you want to come out. It's a very personal decision. Don't feel pressured or rushed, but don't take 40 years either.
It's, I'm sure, something that you struggled with. I watched kind of the Twitter feed unravel, and the overwhelmingly positive response that people had to,
very nice.
your
Yeah, it's, I estimate probably 95% of the comments have been very, very supportive and kind. 5% you get these, people who tend to be anonymous, or a lot of people
Sure.
from the States, don't come to our country, and you ignore those, because I think the vast majority of people understand that it's a personal decision, and I'm not, thrusting my, sexual preference on anyone. It's just, as a public figure, hopefully my coming out will maybe help a few people with their struggle. I've met some people just in the last 3 days who are going through the same thought process of, how do I come out? Who do I talk to? And again, I'm not an expert on this, but, my advice is you don't have to come out if you don't want to, but, it's a bit of a weight off your shoulder, because it
Absolutely.
swirls in your mind all the time.
So from the political side, because obviously you're involved in party politics and so on, did you feel ever at the time that there was any pressure on you that you couldn't be, that couldn't be known? You talked about it in your letter about somebody.
Not really, I suppose there's always, I had, during the Pride Parade, some people would yell out, when you're coming out of the closet, but I was never really pressured. There was no one eureka moment where I said, I've got to announce I'm gay. Just the last year or two, I've been thinking about it more and more, and I'm so all consumed with my job as mayor. People said, "Oh, he's married to his job," and it really was true. Like, you go to
Sure.
15 events on a Saturday and 10 events on a Sunday. You don't have a lot of private time to think about relationships or anything like that. And I loved what I was doing. I've been very fortunate every job I've had. I really look forward every morning to get up and go to work. I've never had one of these days, oh God, drag myself to work. So, I've been pretty preoccupied with my work, which has been very gratifying. It's just as I said, there's no one moment. I've just been thinking about it for, a year and a half or so. And I wrote the article, and I procrastinated writing the article for probably 2 years. And then I finally hunkered down when I was on holidays in PEI and wrote it. And I felt it was a pretty good article, and the Citizen was kind enough to publish it in their Saturday edition.
Yeah, well, it's, I would say it's very inspiring, and we recently, in Municipal World, we recently had a story from, shared this story from a young woman who heads up Civic Pride, and she talks about being, a young person and reading, just starting in public administration, and seeing this article about where are all the gay people in public administration, and so she's kind of drawn some attention to that. And I think on the same side, there's where are all the gay people in municipal politics, because aside from opening the door for yourself in your own life, it opens the door for other people who feel that that's not the place for them, that they're not represented there. And
well, hopefully it will do that. Again, I don't profess to have a lot of experience in this, but I've had a number of very kind comments through social media and direct messaging, where parents are sharing my story with their sons or daughters who are going through the same experience. I'm very late in life, announcing my sexual preference, but I have great admiration for those young people, who are 17, 18, or in their 20s making that decision. And particularly if you're from a small community, where there's not a lot of support groups, and there may be greater challenges in coming out. But, if I'd done this 20 years ago, it would have been, I think, a lot braver and gutsier than doing it now, to be perfectly honest.
I'm not sure, Jim.
I listed a whole bunch of people in provincial, municipal, and federal politics who were trailblazers well before I announced what I did on Saturday.
Well, nevertheless, I think it was extremely courageous, and you're to be commended for doing it and for kind of revealing that part of yourself. Do you have any sense that there's I feel in some ways, and your announcement kind of signaled this to me as well, that we're at a little bit of a tipping point for allowing people to be their whole selves in their public and private lives to be the same person you are in public that you are in private. And certainly, there's a lot of visibility for people in local government. You know, I've talked before about how it's a fishbowl, and you know, everybody can really see everything. And if you want to keep that private part of yourself very private, it can be a very big challenge. Do you think that's true?
I think, you know, when you see things like, you know, same-sex marriage that was approved by Parliament, and benefits to same-sex couples, and, you know, just so many positive changes that have been made over the years, it's certainly a much more welcoming and inviting climate here in Canada than would be the case in other countries. You know, even the United States, you see some of the nastiness and homophobia and so on. And you see some countries around the world where you can be killed and
Still a very
hung
dangerous
and
thing.
stoned,
Yes.
you know, by the government because they have outlawed homosexuality. So there's still a lot of work to do around the world, and even in Canada, we had you know, a pride event in Bell's Corners, a part of Ottawa, that was disrupted by some people shouting homophobic statements. And, you know, that's what I said today at the launch of the flag. I said, you know, there's a reason why we still have a parade and we still have a flag raising to celebrate diversity, because there are still people out there whose hearts are filled with hate, and they can't accept the fact that, you know, some men like men and some women like women, and, you know, that's, you know, you don't, you're not born in this world as someone who, you know, is going to be gay or lesbian or trans, and it happens, and we should respect that and their choices.
We still have a ways to go for, you know, our whole population to understand that love is love, and to let people be who they
themselves,
are. Yeah. So let's talk about the city of Ottawa now in the context of the Pride events and so on. Is it National Pride? Is that what the...
No, it's called Capital Pride.
Capital Pride, right.
And, you know, Montreal had their Pride last week, and then Toronto, I think, is usually in June, and ours is in August, and we have a lot of events. You know, there's an event at Lansdowne Park that I'm going to, I think, on Wednesday, and the flag raising today, and there was a picnic on the weekend, and then the parade on Sunday, and there's, I think, about 24 other activities during the course of the
Pride
week.
Prom or something. I think
Yeah,
I saw too.
yeah. Unfortunately, I can't go to everything because
Yes.
we have the AMO conference here, and I've got to be with my.
We're taking some of
my
your time
council
away from that
colleagues.
too.
Yeah. So there's lots of events. It's really grown. I think the first Pride parade was, you know, 15 or 20 people at a small gathering in the 1970s, and today, you know, the streets will be lined with literally tens of thousands of people. You know, cheering on all the floats and the exhibits and so on, and then there's a party where we close down Bank Street for the afternoon and the evening.
Fantastic. So from a public policy perspective, do you think there's more that that government should be doing, whether it's at the local or provincial or federal level, to kind of support people in this, you know, this quest to be who they are?
Yeah, I think, you know, things like, you know, public safety are concerned. You know, there was some disruptive activity at the Pride festivities in Hamilton, for instance. We had some, as I mentioned, in Bell's Corners. So there's a role, obviously, for the police to ensure the protection of those individuals who may feel threatened or harassed by you know, people who don't appreciate you know, sexual preference. You know, I think we've done a lot locally, provincially, and municipally to ensure that anyone who is, you know, part of the GLBTQ community feels comfortable and safe in their work environment and in their community, and that's one of the roles we take very seriously.
That's fantastic. Well, I want to congratulate you again and commend you for your courageous and your very touching letter in the paper. And
Great. Thank you.
thanks for being such a great host here in
My
Ottawa.
pleasure. Thank you.